Hey, YouTube, Otto here. Okay, it is finally time. I've been trying to get to this for a few days, but just been too busy. So here we are up on the Atlas community forums. We're going to slide down. We're going to go over the patch, the huge update that's coming in on March 20th. All right, I'm going to read down through, and as we go, I'm going to address concerns that I have for certain things. And like I said in some other spots that I've posted, I hope my understanding is incorrect, because some of these could be pretty huge. We'll see. Alright, so what do we have here? Players can now build anywhere without owning a settlement, an island which has been claimed. Okay, so what you got to do first is get the whole old Atlas out of your head. Okay, they're changing some major things here. Now, each island, if you want to claim an island, okay, it's not going to be free ports, okay, and it's not lawless. It is the PvP areas. The PvP areas, in order to claim an island, you have to have a bank. You have to set the bank, and then you have to claim the island, and there's a timer that goes on, then you finally get it. But you're going to have to compete with others, because now you can't have multiple claim flags on an island. Each island is going to be owned by one person, and that person is going to be a part of, whatever org. So now one flag to one island, and we'll see how that's going to play out. So now you can build anywhere on the settlement. It's called a settlement the moment it gets a ownership flag on it. Okay, it's not a settlement while the counter's going down. It's a settlement after the character already owns the island. Okay, an island which has been claimed is now known as a settlement. Only one claim flag can be placed per island, and the owner, player company, is the owner of that settlement. There will be a hard limit on the total number of claim flags. Islands are given a rank based on their location, size, and how valuable they are. Notice what it said. First off, let's cover those one by one. I'll read the rest and we'll go back. These rankings will be used to determine upkeep, as well as identify the top 10 companies, which will be the sum of all the islands of that company has claimed. Okay, so what that means is, like, first off, location. Location is which biome is it in? Is it in the tundra? Is it in is it in the equator line? Is it in the tropics? Is it in the desert? And there's 7 total biomes, okay? And so is it a part of any of those? Where's it at? So location is going to partly determine the value of the island. Okay, so we all know that certain areas are easier to live in than others. So my guess is tundras are probably going to be worth less than, like, tropical. Okay, because tundra is very hard to live in. And we all know that even the ice rain up there can kill you if you don't have the proper coverage. And sometimes even if you do have the proper coverage, like for armor and stuff, it's just so cold with the rain coming down that it can still kill you. So that's really hard. Versus, what is it? I know it's not called the Mediterranean or the deciduous. It's the middle area of the map. It's in between the tundra and the tropics. Gosh, no, I'm gonna have to find it. Let's see what we got here. I've got a picture here of the old Atlas map. So here we are. All right, what do we have here? See, up here you've got up here is going to be the tundra, and then in here, I still can't remember what the heck it's called. This is tropic. This is tropic. This is tundra. This is desert. This is desert. This is tropic. This is tropic. This is tropic. This is tropic. These here are. That's still not helping. How about that one? Temperate. There we go. It's called temperate. So this area in here, your 4s and 5s, minus the desert, are your temperate. Temperate is easier to live in, but there's certain things you're not going to find in temperate you can find in other zones. So we'll hit that point next. So first off is location. Which biome is it in? Second is size. We all know these islands vary in size. Some are very small. You could pretty much take a medium cannon and shoot from one side to the other. And some are very big, You can go around that one island and get lost in it. So size matters. No pun intended. And how valuable they are. Value, okay, is, I believe it's going to also be based off what's on that island. Okay, because we also know that a lot of islands have got a variety of resources on them. Some have got awesome resources, and some are just kind of like, not a big deal. If you had an outpost there, it'd be okay, but it's not really a place you want to put a base. And so, yeah, that's what's going to be making it up. So upkeep. Upkeep is a new thing. Now we have to pay to keep our settlements or whatever we've built on our islands kept up with. Think of it as a maintenance cost. It says, as well as identify the top 10 companies, which will be a sum of all the islands that company has claimed. Okay, so it's gonna like, if a company owns 7 islands, it's gonna add up the value of all those islands, and that's gonna be that org's value. Okay, whichever org has the highest value, they're going to be put in the top 10. So you can see which orgs are going to be the most valuable as far as location, size, and value of what's on it. And that, it's going to be really important which islands you pick, because some islands are going to be better for defense than others. Okay, so location is going to matter for that too. You got to think of more than just the value of the island. Part of the value is actually going to be what do I want to call it? It's not going to only be determined by the biome it's in. It's also going to be determined by the layout of the land of the island. Some islands are more favorable for taking care of things and protecting things than others. And so that's going to be very important. So we'll see what happens out there. We're going to have to be selective about which islands we pick for what. Okay, next line down. Structures that are built on islands that are not settlements can be raided at any moment. So the only way you get any kind of protection window is if you are on an island that is a settlement. That's it. It's that simple. If you're on an island that is not a settlement, you can be raided 24/7 like the old system. So many of us want some degree of protection. Especially smaller to mid-size orgs are going to want that protection even more, because the big orgs with players on 24/7 around the clock, they're going to have someone there to defend and to help take care of things. Smaller orgs don't get that luxury. They don't get that, in fact, that huge edge. Okay, those bigger orgs that have people on around the clock are going to have a massive edge versus orgs that don't have many or no one on. So yeah, it's going to be important if you're settling on an island that is a settlement or not. Fog of War and Shroud of War have been eliminated, so the entire atlas will be shown to everyone. I'm not sure I like that. In fact, part of me thinks I don't like it. I don't like it because that means, and this isn't something a lot of people are going to be able to do a lot about, but some people have a higher level of understanding and skill than others. And so if you get a real sharp group together, they're going to be able to dominate by picking out whatever they want, wherever they want. That Shroud of War, that Fog of War actually protected people from that happening, because you couldn't see what was where when. Okay? In order to see the world, you have to travel the world. They're removing that. And so I don't like that. I think it actually could potentially hurt people more than it helps. Especially at the beginning of the game. Because at the beginning, everyone's going to be making a mad dash. For those of us that have been on it since the beginning, we already know what happens to the islands. They all fill up so fast that if you don't get something, at the relatively the beginning, you're not going to get something. And now it's not about just getting something. You have to get something good. Okay? Hear what I'm saying. Something good. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck with that for the rest of the time. Because smaller and medium orgs can't compete with the big orgs. It's not about skill. It's not about understanding. It's about sheer numbers. Okay? Like, you could take a 6-man group in somewhere, but if they're fighting 30, 40, 50 people, GG, it's over. Okay, they're going to be able to put up a fight. They're going to be able to, get in their licks for a time, but they're not going to be able to hold that back indefinitely. And so they're going to lose. And so that's why I say that, again, the mystery of knowing what was on which island where and what islands were where, okay, was a big deal. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this right here, check this out. I'm going to open it up so I can show you guys right here. Okay, load project. We'll just load this grid. Okay, here we go. This is the island editor grid, okay? Yes, the island editor. I can go in here and let's zoom in, right? Let's zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Let's just pick out a couple islands. Okay, now, I can go in here and I can study each of these islands. Right now, it is, it's early morning, so it's March 4th, but it's pretty much 16 days until the 20th, okay? 17 if you want to count today because it just started, so it's not over yet. So we'll say 17 days. You have 17 days to study these maps and find out which ones are strong for defense and which ones aren't. Which ones typically have better resources, which ones don't. Which ones are in the biomes that you would want normally and which ones aren't. My guess, this is my guess, okay? This is not fact. My guess and my belief is they're not going to radically move every island all over their world map. Okay, they're going to keep a lot of them relatively similar to where they're already at. And they're going to add in, they've already said they're going to add in approximately 200 new islands. Right? So you already know there's going to be a little bit less water, ocean, in between each island because they're adding 200 more. But here's the thing. They also said in that live stream that they're going to be repeat islands of the other islands with a variety of resources, and they're going to be in different biomes and stuff. And so again, you're going to be able to go into the editor here, study the maps, find out, or study the islands, find out which ones are better for various things. And then, because now there's no fog of war, now you can just mad dash to whatever you want the moment they release it on the 20th. That I don't like. I don't like that because that means, guess what? Joe that works really hard is at work and he doesn't get off till 5, and it released before that, so Joe's screwed because he came in 4, 5, 6 hours later. Okay, and then multiply that by, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20,000 players or however many there are. There's going to be a ton of people that can't go in for that mad dash. And so they're going to lose out on those. This is a restart. And so especially those of us that didn't really get exactly what we wanted the first time, we're going to make sure that we're there as much as we can that next restart. And so that's going to be really important. Like, look at this island here. This island here is huge. It's huge. What is it called right now? Carleton Island, okay? That thing is huge compared to... Let's look at... What's this little guy right here? Gaden Scurry. Oh, yeah, I've been there before. So, yeah, it's huge compared to Gaden Scurry. Their value alone is going to be different. Now, what could offset it, other than location and size, is resources. If they take Gaden Scurry and load it full of a bunch of great resources, and then this one here, the Carleton Island, although it's huge, maybe it has very poor resources. You just don't know what they're going to do with it yet. So, Fog of War, not having it, I think is a big negative. I think it helped a lot more, and it made people work more to get around the globe to find out what was where, and it actually protected a lot. With it wide open, anyone can see what islands are wherever, and like right here, this island right here that I'm on now, let me just scroll up here a little bit. This island right here, Lancaster Island, this is just like Eaton over in M5. So I already know the general layout of this island because I know Eatland pretty much like the back of my hand. Okay, that's where my main base is at in the other videos and stuff I do. Okay, so I know this front to back, but you know what I don't know? If it's in a different biome, it's going to have a different layout as far as what's on the top of the geography. Okay, the trees, the rocks, all that, all the resources. It could be totally, odds are they will be totally different. Because generally speaking, you get different set of resources in different biomes. Okay, and so, but I already know relatively as far as defense grade, how this island can be set up for defense. And I know this is a fairly good size island versus, like this little tiny guy here again, the Jade Home. This thing's a little tiny thing. You know what I'm saying? You could put a big ship on this side and shoot a cannonball all the way across to the other side. So now when you get swarmed, you're kind of in trouble because now it's totally surrounded on all sides because it's so small. And I can see that because the world map is uncovered. I can see everything. I know exactly which islands to go to because some are stronger than others naturally, just by the geography alone and the layout, how that island is built. And there's several here. I've been through this. I've visited several of them. This is another big one here. There's several that are, the way they're built is key to how they are built upon. Granted, the mountains and stuff can move. Stuff like that can change. I believe this one here was a free port before, but it's huge. Stock Fate Key. Yeah, Stock Fate Key. That's a real big one. And then look at these two little tiny guys here. Someone could pick those up, but they're tiny. And they've already said that... yeah, I don't care about that. They've already said that every island you own beyond the first island, the cost goes up. So the less islands you have, the less expensive they're going to be to maintain, just by quantity alone. Okay, where are we at? So we're at Fog of War and Shroud of War have been eliminated. World map will now show the name of an island, which can be changed by settlement owners. I like that. I do like that you can change the name. That's really cool. Who a settlement is owned by, the current tax rate, and the current war status of the island. That's all cool. I think that's all good. It does bring up a concern, but we'll cover that a little bit later. The tax rate. Islands will have colored overlay for ownership, owned by you, an ally, or a non-ally. All right, that's cool. I mean, the user interface looks like it's going to help more. That's going to be nice. Okay, company updates. NPC crew on offensive, defensive seated structures will no longer count towards the tame limit while seated. Well, that could be a problem. It says while seated. Okay, so what happens if you lose a bunch of them that become unseated all at once? Could they actually push you up over the limit? And what happens if you're up over the limit? Do they just fall over and die? Do they disappear? Do they immediately mutiny? Like, what happens if you're pushing the limit, but they're all seated? And then something happens where, like, you know, I don't know, maybe 20, 50, or 100 get unseated in a very short time, and now you're up over the limit. Like, what happens? So I don't know. I feel like there's not enough information listed with that. Company limit has been reduced to 250 members. This I fully agree with, although I still kind of think 250 might be just too high. And I'll explain that. I'll try to cover it by the end of the video. But for now, we'll just keep going. Group ranks have now been increased to 10. Group ranks have now been increased to 10. I don't know what that means. What group ranks? Company group ranks? Oh, groups. Okay. Maybe, I guess it's groups within the company. Alright. Alliance changes will now be logged in the company log. I like that. The log is always helpful if you use it. You can now sort the company log to display entries from top to bottom. Alright. A new group setting which can grant owner permission to company members, which can only be set by the owner and unset by the owner. Members with the owner permission will not be able to remove the actual company owner from the company. That's good. So you can't kick someone out of their own company. That's a good thing. An alliance now only contains a maximum of 4 companies. I'm totally for that. I know some people will be ticked by it, but there's a reason for this. It's about world balance. The Atlas map world balance, and the same thing with the 250 member limit. So what that means is, and I'm bringing this up because I've already talked to a lot of people about these various things, and people have asked these questions before. What that means is if only 4 companies can be in an alliance and you're one of them, there can only be 3 others. So 4 times 250 is 1,000 members. You can have 1,000 members in one alliance. Now let's do some math real quick. All right, you've got 37,500 divided by 1,000, 37.5. I don't think that's what I wanted. 1,000 divided by 37,500. 37,500 is the maximum number of players able to be on the grid, Atlas grid. Okay, that's at absolute max. That's what it is okay, so we're going to put that in memory. We already know the Atlas is 225 grids, so 225 times 150. That's how you get your 33,750. Okay, and so let's go back to memory recall. Nope, that was not it. Well, actually it is. I pressed it twice, so I screwed it up. Divided by 2 right there. So, let's memory clear and then memory plus. Okay, So what we're looking at is 2.6%. 2.6% of the atlas can be in one alliance. Okay? So 2.6% is what happens when you have 1,000 people all together. Okay? Where'd that? Right there. Now, my one concern I have is that's at maximum player count around the entire atlas. Okay? And so what I seen, though, is when I get up on Atlas and I check how many people are playing, most of the time I looked at it, there was less than 10,000. You know what happens when you have 1,000 players in an alliance on a server that's holding less than 10,000 players? That means your total player count in that alliance, okay, is adding up to more than 10% of that entire server, that entire game's world servers. Okay, and when you have more than 10% of the player base in a single alliance, that's a huge imbalance. Okay, especially if the rest of them are not in alliances that big. You know, if they're all divided and split up. Anytime you get one org that is abundantly over the top bigger than everyone else, you get a major imbalance in the game. And then they're able to steamroll everyone else, and then it just snowballs from there. It's just a matter of time until they come and take whatever they want. Then every battle becomes a zerg between them and everyone else they fight, especially if they're fighting medium to small groups. And it can be very hard to compete in an environment like that. Most of us want a relatively fair battlefield. However, when you are balancing orgs that have 250 versus orgs that have 30, there's a huge imbalance there already. Okay, and even if you take 30 orgs, or even if you take 4 orgs that have 30 members apiece, and you put them into the same alliance, that's only 120 people. There are orgs out there that are bigger than that. Okay? And so everyone doesn't want to join the same orgs. There's reason why people don't want to join orgs. Okay? Orgs that have poor leadership. Okay? Toxic. You don't want to be there. Okay? Orgs that are... There's a point of division. Okay, maybe you don't like the and this could be stupid stuff, but maybe you don't like the banners they fly. Maybe you don't like their attitudes. Okay, a lot of it is, man, you get up on YouTube, you check some of this stuff, and there are a lot of players out there that have very, very poor attitudes. You don't want to be around that all the time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, but bad company corrupts good morals. Okay, and what that means is you spend time around the wrong type of people too much, it affects you negatively. Okay, and so there's a lot of them out there. And so you don't want to be a part of a company like that. And so you don't join that company that's 200 plus people, right? Where most of them don't even know each other, but they're still playing in the same company, but they're still way bigger than that four alliance that had 120 people in it, 30 apiece across 4 orgs. And so it's really hard to balance when you have tons that are like 50, okay, or even less than 100, and then you get 4 that are maxed right out. They're pushing 200 plus, so you have 800 to 1,000 people. 800 to 1,000 people can walk all over 200 people all day long. And that's a problem with balance. When you start, here's the thing, and I want to cover this early on in the video. What do I classify as game breaking? It's game breaking when the burden of it becomes greater than the fun it's giving. Okay? And so Atlas is already a survival game, and there's a fair amount of grinding in it, and all of us know that, and we accept that. But when you start adding more and more burden up on top of that, okay, this is why players leave games. Okay? The burden of playing the game becomes greater than the fun it provides, especially with hundreds of other titles out there, dozens dropping every month that you can jump off and play and have a good time. Okay, so let's keep going. We'll see what else we get here. Let's jump into the claim flags. See, claim flags have been eliminated, so no more putting a flag down and it covers a bigger area than on land. That's the way you could do it before. That's gone. But it doesn't matter, because now when you put down a claim flag, it takes the whole island. Claim flags can no longer be used to steal structure ownership on land. So you can't steal someone's building anymore. Okay? That's not going to happen. Claim flags can no longer be merged into other companies. There you go. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There will be a hard limit on the total number of claim flags per company. Okay, so a company can only have so many claim flags. For example, 20. Number can be adjusted. 20 is just an example. It doesn't mean it could be 20. Okay, they could make it 6. They could literally limit every company to 6 islands because essentially when you put down a claim flag on an island is the whole island if you settle it. And that would severely limit how much a large org can push off on other people. That's going to limit the larger orgs. Whatever number they choose for that is going to limit the bigger orgs. I'm not worried about the little orgs. Okay, I'm not worried about the people that are playing together, having a great time, and they're 20, 30, 40, 50, even up to maybe even 100 people. Okay, because they're small to mid-size. The ones that are going to imbalance the Atlas are going to be the very big orgs that are also in very big alliances. That's where you're going to find imbalance. You're going to find domination. And what's going to happen in those areas, if you're a smaller org, okay, or you're a smaller alliance, you're going to get bullied, depending on the attitude of the larger alliance. Not everyone sees Atlas as a pure piracy, let's jerk people around game all the time, okay? In fact, I was having a discussion with some org members earlier. One of them straight up said, Atlas is not just about piracy. Pirates are one of the elements within Atlas. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that are just sailors. There's explorers. Okay, there's builders. Okay, there's a lot of other types of players out there that are not just, I want to grief you because I'm a pirate. Okay? And so there's going to be a variety, but this number here is going to really limit how big those orgs can go. Okay? So, and all you have to do is, whatever this number is, multiply it times 4, because that's going to be the biggest an alliance can be. Take that number, and that's going to be the total number of islands they can take into settlements. Take that number, put it in the total number of islands across the whole Atlas, and you're going to be able to find out what percentage of the Atlas one alliance can own. And you start using figures like that to figure out, you know, if there's going to be an imbalance if things get too big. Okay, a claim flag cannot be placed without without a tax bank. Okay, a tax bank. So now you have to have a tax bank, and then you can put down the claim flag. And there's a reason for that. That tax bank becomes, I almost want to say, the center of your settlement. And so when you are paying up all your upkeep and your maintenance for it, it goes in that tax bank. Claiming an island will take a fixed amount of time plus an additional amount per claim flag owned. So, for example, let's say the first claim flag you put down is 10 minutes. Okay, it's hypothetical. It could be 2 hours. I don't know. But let's say it's 10 minutes. Now let's say the next one you put down is 20 minutes. What did they do? They took the base number, they multiplied it by 2 because it's your second flag. Third one, it could be 3. Okay, it could be 30 minutes, right? Fourth one, it could be even more and more and more and more and more. So what they're saying is the more you put out, the longer it takes to claim. For example, 1 hour to claim plus 1 hour per owned claim flag. Numbers can be adjusted. Okay, so I think that's good that they are limiting that. I'd like it better if it doubled, because I think it would be better. Like, for example, let's say your first claim is an hour and your second claim is 2 hours, right? And let's say your third claim is 4 hours, because 4 is 2 hours times 2, so it doubles every time, right? And maybe your fourth claim is 8 hours. Now, why is that better? Well, I like that better because it prevents those huge orgs from going out and scrambling, from getting multiple high-end islands. Because if you get a smaller org, or an org that hasn't placed, it might not even be smaller. It could be the same size org as the other one. Okay? But they come in and they put their claim flag, but guess what? Their claim flag is their first one, so it only takes them an hour. And they beat the other company that already has 4 out there, and their next one was going to take them 8 hours. See what I'm saying? It gives it a more fair chance for those that don't have a half a dozen claim flags out there already. So I kind of like that. I think we need to limit. People. They need to be slowed down quite a bit, because that first claim is going to be big. Every claim after that is important, but not as important as that first one. That first one, everyone's going to be zerging for in order to get good islands and good resources, good locations. You know, those are all going to be prime. Declaiming will always take a fixed amount of time. Okay, for example, 2 hours. Okay, and declaiming is just saying, I don't want this claim anymore. Declaim it. 2 hours goes by, boom, it's gone. It's not yours anymore. Okay, So I would actually like it. They say it's fixed, but I think it would be better if it was also building up like this again. And the reason for that is, again, to throttle. Odds are it's going to be certain orgs, bigger orgs that have multiple claim flags out there that are going to be declaiming more. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to either zerg someone and take over a piece or something, or find something they'd rather have, and then they're going to declaim. And that declaim, if it only takes 2 hours, well, you could declaim and run over and grab another one faster if it doesn't build up when it's time to declaim. So if it's always only 2 hours, then it's only ever going to take you 2 hours to declaim. You run over, grab another one. But if it's like maybe you own 6 claims, right? And now if this thing here says it takes 8 hours to declaim, guess what? You're not going to have a rapid turnaround. You're not going to be able to see something you want right away, run over, declaim, jump off of that, run over to the other one and grab it up. It slows down, I don't want to call it traveling. It slows down being able to migrate to other places. And I think that's a good thing. I wouldn't want any of the orgs. My main thing is the bigger orgs getting out of control. And I'll share something at the tail end of this, but I'll wait for now. And we'll see how it goes. I just think slowing down the migration is going to be a benefit. I think it's going to help protect people more than it's going to hurt people. Okay, the difference if I'm just casually unclaiming something because I don't want it anymore because it's just really a burden on the org, then whether it takes 2 hours or 8 hours doesn't really make a huge difference. But it does if I'm trying to do a rapid turnaround and hurry up and grab another island. Okay, and so if it's a casual declaim or this will help us better, it's not really a big deal thing. The amount of time isn't such a huge deal. But if I'm trying to make a strategic move, all of a sudden the amount of time it takes to declaim becomes really important. Okay, what do we have here? Claim flag upkeep. Claim flags now have an upkeep cost which is paid from the tax bank. Yeah, that's that maintenance cost I talked to you guys about. The upkeep cost will be an assortment of resources. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The upkeep cost will scale on the size of the island, the number of claim flags a company has, and how many different companies and players are building on the island. Right? So let's just put that into a scenario. Like those other islands I showed you in the island editor, the big one's going to cost more than the small one. The number of claim flags. A company that owns 2 is going to pay more in general. Okay, this is a flexible number based off these other variables. Okay, they're going to pay more than a company that just owns 1. Why? Because they own more. Okay, that is to keep the cost. That is one of the ways they are using to keep orgs and alliances in check. Okay, because of charging more for each one you own after the first one. Players can only place items into a tax bank that go towards upkeep. There you go. Only upkeep can be put in the tax bank. That's good. I mean, it's got its single source, or it's got its single purpose. Claim flag will have a grace period after successful claim to allow resources to gather in a tax bank before upkeep is charged. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory here. Grace period. Okay, that's good to give you time to build up the resources so that you can pay your dues, your tax dues. The claim flag will visualize if the upkeep will not be met. There you go. So maybe it turns red above the bank, okay, if it's not met, okay, come the next pay time, right? So players are able to contribute directly to the tax bank. The tax bank will now stack resources like a ship resource box. Awesome. So it's not going to be just tons and tons of stuff in there. It's going to be really easy to see it. Yeah, and maybe it turns green. Maybe the flag turns green if it's you're good to go. Don't worry about it. It's covered for the next interval. And I don't even know what the intervals are going to be yet. I'm hoping they're like weekly or something. That way we don't have to go out grinding daily or whatever in order to take care of it. I think it would be a whole lot better if it was like weekly. The game has enough grind in it. There needs to be a cutoff point where it's like where it becomes an issue of quality of life and quality of enjoyment versus let's grind the heck out of them. Settlements. Settlement owners must set a window of vulnerability, currently set to 9 hours, where their island is raidable. Outside of this window, players, structures, and ships will not take damage from other players. Okay, now there's 2 ways to look at this. I've heard some people say 9 hours is not enough. And there's a problem with that, okay? let's say you own a settlement, okay, and you're an alliance of 3 people, and the total size of your alliance is 140 people, okay? Let's say at any given time around the clock, you have maybe, I don't know, 15 people online, okay? Now, is that preferable versus the alliance that has, let's say they have 780 people, right? And at any given time online, they have 50 people online. Now, which island has more protection? The one that has an average of 50 people online, or the one that has an average of 17 people online? Now, if you extend that 9 hours, you just made it even harder for the smaller orgs to keep up with stuff. We can't assume that every single organization out there is going to hit the max 50, and they're going to jump into an alliance with the max 250 per org, and you're always going to have 1,000 running tight. Okay, because my guess is that's not going to happen. Okay, odds are there's going to be a lot of them out there that are a half or even more than a half of that size. So instead of having 250, they're going to have $125 or less. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised. See, this is where they need to do statistics. They need to take numbers that are checking how many orgs are there in the Atlas, and what is the average player in the what's the average member count in each org, okay? And then what is the average member count in each alliance, all right? And not just total numbers, but figure those out, and then figure out how many of them are actually online active. How many are on for this many hours? How many are on for this many hours? How many are on for this many hours? Now you're going to find out what your average in-game player base is, okay? And that's going to show you your real numbers to find out if we have balance or not. Okay, and so if some of these orgs are like real hardcore, and we all know the hardcore ones are going to have the players that are on there more often, and they're going to be generally hardcore. They're usually more skilled, they're usually more dedicated, they usually spend more time with it. Okay, and even in that case, a lot of them even have better gear as far as like computer hardware and stuff for a better experience as far as lag and FPS and all that side of it goes. Why? Because they really enjoy this stuff. That's what they're into. They're dedicated, okay? They're committed to it. All right? And so that experience is going to be a whole lot different than a player that's playing casually and he's running around with an org of 20, 30 people, right? So these are the things they're going to have to run. They need to have code in the game for the server that is checking all this stuff on the fly all the time. They should be able to just pull up on the back end of their website how many are online, how many from each org, what's the average, how many hours they're playing, on and on and on. All these statistics. And it'll tell them whether their balance numbers are working or not. There will be a timer on players before they receive the invulnerability status. Okay? Anchored boats or docked boats will follow these same rules if they are in the radius of a settlement. Okay, there will be a timer on players before they receive the invulnerability status. Okay, so I think what that means with the boats is when you anchor them, there's going to be a timer before you go into invulnerability status, because anchored boats can't be damaged and hurt and screwed up, right? And so that's what you get before you get invulnerability status. Okay, non-settlement owners who have cannons on ships and are anchored shall not be allowed to fire cannons outside of wartime. Okay, keywords that are anchored. So if the ship is anchored and it's not a wartime, you can't fire those cannons. Wait a minute. If you're on an island, non-settlement owners who have cannons on ships and are anchored shall not be allowed to fire cannons outside of wartime. They've got to be talking about, okay, it's in the context of a settlement. So my guess is if you are at an island that is not in wartime, that is not during that vulnerability window, and you are a non-settlement owner, then you can't fire the cannons. Okay, that makes more sense to me. Settlement owners can freely damage other characters and structures on their island. Notice this. This becomes really, really important, guys. And again, this goes for everyone. This goes for small orgs, mid-size, and large. Settlement owners. Remember, the settlement owner is the person or org that owns the island. Can freely damage other characters and structures on their island. Now, why is that a big deal? And this is one of my big concerns for this new update. Because check out this scenario. Okay, I'm a player. I have an org. I'm on an island. I'm not the settlement owner. Okay? And so after several weeks or months, I end up having a few thousand of hours of man hours between myself and all the org members of what we've poured into that. Guess what? If you have a, let's say an argument or something with the owner because maybe he wants to do something that's just off the wall weird and really inconvenience everyone, you really can't fight it because this guy is law. The settlement owner is law on that island. Okay? And so now, if you have a disagreement about something that could be fairly important, you're now stuck. Because now you have to put up with it or pack. And guess what? Once all these islands get filled up and they're owned, packing is going to be almost impossible for you to land anywhere else. Second, that's one scenario. Second scenario, again, you have a falling out, right? Dude decides to just up and start deleting territory, things that were built on his island. Okay, maybe he doesn't like a certain place or a certain person or whatever happens. Okay, maybe he didn't even maybe the guy's just a jerk and he didn't like someone's performance out there in the last battle when the island got raided, and so he blames them and he's like, you're out of here. So guess what? The guy just burnt 2,000 hours of that other org's time because now he can just up and destroy it. That to me is generally speaking, we've all heard the expression high risk, high reward, right? Well, to me, it's a huge risk to dump all that kind of time onto an island when you are not the owner. Okay? So this is a warning, all right, for you guys that are going to be out there. If you're not the island owner, all right, you're taking a big risk. You better make sure you know that person that's the owner really well and that they are really cool, all right? Because I've seen a lot of them out there. I would not want to be on their islands, all right? Their attitude, their sportsmanship, the whole nine, the way they're pushing off on the community is you just do not want to be on that island. Because anything can happen. And you don't want to burn all that time. That to me is very dangerous. Okay, that's a good way to get a large org to up and quit. There's been huge scandals in EVE Online about allowing the wrong person into leadership. And then that person ends up stealing from everyone else and you lose literally years of work. Because one wrong person got into leadership. And the big deal with the leadership is they got the permissions. They got access to the loot. They got access to the credits, right? They got access to the ships. They got access to the bases. And then they could screw everyone over. These have been huge scandals up on there. If y'all don't know about it, just go up EVE Online scandal. EVE Online takeover or whatever. I'm just using EVE because that's one of the ones I've seen recently. It's just fresh in my head. But that's what can happen by having the wrong leader. And the way I see it is the person that owns the settlement's the governor. Okay, it's by having the wrong governor up there, you can get into serious trouble. Settlement owners can set taxes on their island, which will automatically be deposited into the tax bank. Again, once you settle down, now watch. Once you settle down, and you have, let's say you have a few thousand hours, because we're gonna do this for maybe a couple months, okay, across multiple org members. A few thousand hours is not really that hard to reach. And so now what happens if the guy goes, oh, it's all good, it was only a 5% tax rate when we started, don't worry about it, guys, I'm cool. And then once you're there, after you spend all that time and you're all established, and you've already passed up several other islands, and now the atlas is all filled up, and now the guy raises the tax rate to 30%. You can't do anything about it. Because if you leave, you're stuck. You got nothing. But if you stayed, now you have to pay this outrageous tax rate, and there's nothing you can do about it. See, it's putting a lot of control into a single person or entity, and that can be very dangerous. Okay, there's a reason everyone is not a governor in the world today. A lot of people are not qualified, okay? They're not qualified in understanding, in skill, in character. What do we got here? All right. Structures that are built on a settlement which do not belong to the settlement owner will have a decay timer. Okay, which means you have to be logging in regularly. I think that's to prevent people from building a bunch of stuff and then bailing and not playing anymore. There's got to be a way to get rid of the stuff for it to decay and get out of there. Player-run shops which are placed on islands can also be taxed by settlement owners. Again, in a way I can understand that, but in a way it's when it gets out of control that I'm seriously like against it. And the reason being is because if you're running a player-run shop, you did all the hard work for that to happen. The shop, everything in it, you busted your butt, right? Why should I give all of my earnings over to someone else, or a big chunk of them, just because he's a settlement owner? He's a part of an org that owns the island, but then guess what? All of a sudden, they're playing. They stop playing. They're only playing once in a while. But now you're paying in all these high dues because you're not the settlement owner. And so that is kind of like, I don't know about that. I don't like that. I feel like settlement owners, it can work great. Okay, it can really work great if the settlement owner is wise enough, mature enough, okay, friendly enough even, all right, organized enough to be able to run it. But again, there's a reason everyone in the world is not a governor. Okay, you get the wrong people in those positions and it's going to be a nightmare. Those are the people I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about orgs and alliances that get up underneath people like that. It's pretty much a dictatorship because they're not even voted in by anybody. And so there's really no way to put them in check that if things are getting out of hand to combat it. And once the Atlas gets rolling, you're stuck. And they can use that leverage against you because you can't just pick up and go somewhere else because getting islands is not going to be that easy. And I thought I seen it. I thought I seen it in the video that you can't steal land anymore. Yeah, I think it was in one of these. What do we got here? Not that. Was it back one? Was it here? I thought I seen one somewhere that said you can't steal land anymore. We'll see if it's in here somewhere else. And the reason why that's an issue is because once someone becomes a governor, they're permanently seated in that position, as far as I can tell. And that means if you get a jerk up in there, then you're permanently stuck with them. And if the person becomes a jerk after everything's already snatched up, you're in a really bad position. You're in a position so bad that that could actually drive players to leave the game. And I don't know about you, but looking at Atlas and seeing less than 9,000 players playing when the max is 37.5, that's already not encouraging. That already tells me we're down to almost 25% of the player base, and that something is already wrong because it's not retaining players. The last thing you want is for poor governors out there treating people poorly or leveraging them or screwing them over, whatever. So that's, again, it could work great, but it can also backfire and become a nightmare. Players can purchase a war token, significant cost, which can be used to declare war on an island. Okay, now this token is to open up the vulnerability window that was talked about here. All right, so that they can, I don't know, they said it could be right here. When war declared on an island, players must select a scheduled time in the future, 3 days to a week. So you're declaring when you want to go to war with them, okay? And that's kind of nice because then you can adjust exactly when you're going to be attacking, because then you can get your whole org together and it can be kind of like an org event. However, the bad side is this. The bad side is this. Let's say this is open for 9 hours, right? And I set my time for this and I coordinate it with my org so it's an org event and everyone can show up, right? Or most people can show up. And then it's tacked on right at the very end of these 9 hours. Now, I don't know how long this war event's going to be. Maybe it'll be 9 hours. Maybe it'll be 4 hours. Maybe it'll be 6 hours. I don't know. But whatever it is, it could get tacked to this 9, and then all of a sudden you have an island that was vulnerable for more than half a day. Maybe even 3/4 of a day. Okay? So in that time, almost any island can get absolutely obliterated. And I'm not a player that gets his kicks off by destroying other people's hundreds and hundreds of hours of hard work. Okay? And so that doesn't do it for me. But I know there are others out there that's how they get their rocks off. They just love to grief other people. And I say that because, and I use that word grief, because right now, there's not a huge incentive to be going to war with other people. Like, for example, okay, I sink your boat. What do I get? Oh, wait, I get resources. Oh, wait a minute. Why did I go out and declare war? Or not declare war, but why did I go out and sink a ship that was going to give me some wood and some thatch and some fiber and some metal when I can get that right off my own island back home? I don't have to sink a ship to get that. Oh wait, you're going to get their armor. Big deal. We got armorers. What do I need that for? The only incentive right now is bragging rights, which for a lot of people that is of no interest whatsoever. That doesn't do it. So I'm bringing these up because this is all about player retention. Okay, how do you get a player into a game and then keep them into the game? All right, and so what else? You might get blueprints or some rare finds. You're right. You might, and the odds of that could be so small that it's not even worth it. So again, I'm saying, where's the incentive to go to war and risk all those resources against someplace else? Well, I get my kicks out of PvP. I love the competition. It's a great time. Okay, I get that. I'm right there with you because I like all that. But why do it in Atlas? Why not go play another game where you can do that, where they give you more incentive, where they're giving you more for being a part of that? More without taking away hundreds upon hundreds of hours that you put into the game. See what I'm saying? So I'm bringing these up, not to be a jerk or anything like that, but this is what goes through players' heads when they're out here playing this, and that those scales start to become imbalanced, okay? Those scales between the burden of playing the game versus the fun it offers you, okay? When that scale starts getting imbalanced and the burden becomes greater than the fun is providing, players go to other games, okay? So the key is you need to keep it more fun than it is a burden, okay? And so you have to watch how much burden you're putting on your player base, or even how much burden potential you put into other players' hands that they in turn can put on other players, like the governor system, the settlement system. All right? Because when that scale starts getting imbalanced, you start having players bounce. Why? Some of them will leave because they got under a jerk governor. Right? And so back to this war token. I like that you can organize it so that you can do an org event, but I am concerned that it's going to open up a vulnerability window that's too great. It's too big. It's too long. To me, in my opinion, 9 hours is already too much. Why would I say that? You let an island get hit for 9 hours by more than 500 players in a given hour or in a given period of time. That's a lot of damage. And that's a lot of burden on players when they put hundreds of hours into bases and ships, and then all of a sudden they're not even logged on because maybe they're, and again, this is coming from that mid to small size org issue. They're not even online and their place is getting totally demolished because they were offline working or taking care of their families or at school or doing real life, and their place got totally trashed because they couldn't be there and because they were a part of a smaller org. So it becomes an issue where it's a huge penalty to be a part of a small org or a medium org. But you can't force everyone to be in a big one because in a lot of big ones, they often have management structural issues. Not all, but they are out there. And you can't force people with good attitudes to play with people with bad attitudes. And so there's a lot of reasons people aren't joining all these big orgs. So I'm concerned for the medium and small orgs. Okay, I'm really concerned for them because the balance... The difference between, for example, a 50-man org and a 250-man org is huge. Huge. Okay? It's so big, it's imbalanced. And I'm going by 50 because I think a lot of them... I actually believe most of the orgs in this game that are a part of alliances are actually smaller. I don't think they're all huge. But Grapeshot knows better than I do because they can pull the statistics by the numbers if they are running those numbers like I said they should be to check this stuff. So we'll see. A lot of this is speculation. It's just stuff I've seen and experienced in the past in other games. It's things I see that could potentially be a problem. Really, you're gonna have to play them out and see what happens. But we'll see. Okay, back to the token. But the token gives us some freedom, and that freedom can be nice. I'm just concerned about the token combined with the 9-hour window being too much. The 9-hour window in itself is already lethal. 9 hours for any place to be full-blown vulnerable is huge because pretty much 9 hours is so long that only big orgs are probably going to have enough people online to properly defend a place. So I am concerned about that. I think it would be better if there was... Because this is every day. If it was like 9 hours every several days or whatever during certain times, I could get that. But this is every single day as far as that's my understanding. 9 hours a day. And so to me, 9 hours a day, that's more than a third of every single day, all week, every month. To me, that's too much vulnerability. And And for settlements, not necessarily out at sea for all the raids and all the fights you can do out there, but for settlements. I feel like settlements is where you're going to have the bulk of your investment. And when people start losing the bulk of their investment, a lot of people leave. If you have a huge org that's been there a while and put in a lot of time, or not huge, but like a middle to small, and they put in a lot of time, and then all of a sudden they come into the crosshairs of the wrong alliance, right? Maybe someone got pissed off because someone did something, they shouldn't have out there when they were trying to tame an animal, and his animal got killed. Now all of a sudden this small to medium org is in the crosshair of a huge alliance, and they can get obliterated in that time. So now you're saying the 1,200 hours that medium-sized org had invested in their place meant squat because that monster alliance came in and laid them out flat. You wonder why all these people just left. They weren't protected. I think 9 hours is too long for every day. And it's hard too because like I heard one person's comment about being a part of an org that is, or being on a server, Atlas, North America or Europe, that has people from around the world playing on it. And my first initial response to that was, there's a reason there's an NA and a Europe. Okay, part of that is time, okay? And so they're trying to open up time for people from those regions to play, but also another one is lag. If you play on a server that's all the way around the world, you're going to have increased lag, and we all already know that the lag on the PvP servers at time is horrendous. It's so horrendous, it's unplayable. You don't even want to PvP at those times because you're stuttering all over the place. And it's not video lag, it's not system lag, it's network lag, it's server lag. So that kills the experience. That's another reason people leave. Bad lag. So I'm concerned for the medium and small orgs that are not getting enough protection. Their in time invested is just as important as everyone else's. And so, in my opinion, the vulnerability windows of settlement shouldn't be a main focus. You don't get a huge reward of any kind for doing that. I think a lot of your pirating and your combat should be out at sea, or even in other areas. They need to design other areas of the game. Where's all the dungeons? Where's all the raids? Where's all the huge boss fights? I mean, I know we got the Kraken, but why can't we go to a place in the Golden Ruins and go down through a dungeon that's actually balanced, for like a 6-man team? Hell, only allow 6 people from an org in it at a time. Allow it to be instanced. Make dungeons. A lot of people like dungeons, especially if they have awesome boss fights at the end of them. And they provide great loot, okay? Because honestly, we're all after it for the loot. But, so, we'll see what happens. I am concerned about the 9 hours combined with the war token. And they did say significant cost, but I do think that a 9-hour window for a small to medium org could be, it could be too much. But even on the flip side of that, if it's smaller than that, now all of a sudden it becomes extremely hard to hit anybody, especially on the bigger orgs. The bigger orgs are always going to have a greater time. They already have the edge. They have the numbers. Excuse me. Because they're going to be able to have more people online on average than smaller orgs. And they're going to have a lot more protection. Even to the point where, you start getting 20, 30, 40 plus people covering a place. Unless you come with twice the number, they're relatively safe as far as defending a place if they're fairly decent. You're going to take as much damage as they did, in which case nobody won. So again, I'm going to ask, where's the incentive? Why should I go to war with that place and risk losing countless hours in a ship with all kinds of special mods and stuff on it, and all my gear and my armor and all that? There's a reason a lot of people go to war with basic gear and almost bare naked ships. Minimal losses. So there's no incentive. There's not enough incentive to do some of this stuff. It's just not there. Like, we get incentive when we kill whales, right? Right? We get gold. We get incentive when we kill cyclopses and dragons and that other thing with all those heads. We get crafting materials and various things like that, right? We get power stones for killing certain things. We get incentive when we kill ships of the dam, right? But you can kill players and your incentive can be squat. It's not worth it to go to war with someone where both sides take heavy losses and what you got back was almost nothing. Nothing but the experience. Because here's the problem with this Atlas. Here's the problem. The problem is players can get that experience in other games. Okay, so they don't have to go to Atlas to get that experience, the PvP experience. There's tons and tons of titles out there. So where's the incentive? What makes Atlas different to provide that incentive, okay, that they want to come to Atlas and be like, no, I don't want to go out there and play Apex. I don't want to play Black Ops 4, you know. I don't want to play fill in the blank, okay. They want to play Atlas because Atlas is giving them the experience they want, and it's giving them the incentive and the rewards and the fun they're looking for. But right now, when you go to war with other players, the incentive is almost null and void. It's so random, you don't know what you're getting. Okay, you could take a ton of damage and not sink one ship, okay, and not take over any raids and not get any loot that's nothing more than basic. So it's you know, this is just what I see out there. So we'll keep going. Declaring war. Players can purchase a war token. Okay. When war is declared on an island, players must select a scheduled time in the future. Okay, got that. Only one war can be scheduled at once. Okay, that limits it. But really, once you combine this with this, that can be pretty hairy. There is a cooldown after a war has ended before another war could be declared on that island. I don't think it should just be a cooldown on the island for war, for the token. I think it should also be a cooldown on the vulnerability window of the 9. Because they went to war. They need rebuild time. So I would give them time for total invulnerability for a series of maybe, I don't know, 2 days, maybe? Maybe a 48-hour window of recoup time or something? Something. A day, 2 days, 3 days, I don't know. Something to allow them to recover. Because some of these wars are, man, like for example, you take a powder keg, right? You take a powder keg into a room and you blow it up and you do AoE damage to everything in there. The damage that was caused was more expensive to repair and replace than the cost of the powder keg. So what I'm saying is when you go to war and things like that happen, the cost they lost could be huge. And if there's no recovery time, there's no recovery. They can't rebound fast enough. Because let's remember, it's not about the war token now. Okay, it's about the 9-hour window. They're going to get hit again the following day, and the following day, and the following day, and the following day. They got no recovery time. So I would give orgs recovery time after a war, because there's a reason an org is placing a war token on some place. Okay, you better believe they're not going to waste this significant cost they paid. Right? And so they need recovery time. The island that was hit is the one that needs the recovery time, not the org that declared it. Okay, because these are the attackers. It's the defenders that needs the recovery time. Declaring war is per island. So it is possible to declare war against multiple islands at once. Okay. And that could get hairy too. I think it's fine, but you know, an org owns 3 islands and all of a sudden a small medium org owns 3 islands and all of a sudden a large alliance says let's go in and just tear them apart. Let's target all 3 of their islands simultaneously with war tokens and just go to war. 1,000 people go up against 250 at max. And then wartime comes, and from the 250 people, 70 show up, and from the 1,000 people alliance, 400 show up. That could be pretty hairy. Because now you don't have one island that got hit, you have 3. You have all, maybe it's all of your islands got hit, right? And so again, I'm going to reinforce there needs to be a recovery time. They need to have recovery. That could get really bad really fast. Wars will last a fixed amount of time. This matters too, how long the wars last. If there's a huge war window, I don't think there should be a huge war window, because they can just cause more and more and more and more damage. I played lots of other titles where 2 hours was your window. 2 hours is what you got to do whatever you could possibly do during that window where everything was opened up wide for raids. And so to even see the 9 hours, I was kind of like, wow, that's quite a while. And it would be different too if the settlement owner could set the 9 hours, and the 9 hours could be broken up into 1 hour intervals. That way it's on again, off again, on again, off again. That gives them recoup time. But if it's 9 consecutive hours, that could also region lock. What if it's always during the time that, I can't be there, and I represents any given player, okay, all the way across the Atlas. Hundreds or thousands of players are like, I can't be there from 9 to 5, I'm at work. I can never be there then. And so you'll never experience it. But just given the settlement owner the opportunity to break this up into maybe even 2 or 3, 4 chunks, that could also help because it would give recovery time in between. What do we got here? There is a cooldown after war is ended. Okay, declaring war per island. The UI will indicate whether an island is experiencing wartime soon or is currently at wartime. War will last a fixed amount of time. When an island has been deemed warlike, building rules no longer apply. After a war is ended, the normal rules are enacted again. Building rules no longer apply. That leaves a whole lot vague. Very, very, very lot vague. So the current rules don't apply. What rules do apply? Settlement build rules. Only the owner of a settlement will be able to build offensive structures, mortars, cannons, and swivels on their island outside of wartime. This is tough too, because the owner of the island could be a small org, but they're being carried because of everyone else on their island, so now they can't afford to put much into mortars and cannons and swivels, and I don't think only the island should be able to, because when an island comes under attack, the whole island can be hit, not just the owner of the island. And so I think every player, every org, every alliance that resides in that island has the right to defend it and to prepare for that defense. I don't really understand. Maybe they have reasons for it, but I don't understand why. In my opinion, in my view, every player, every org, every alliance, again, that is on that island should be able to defend it all the time because they all have an equal amount of stake in it. Again, what if a small org comes in or a medium org comes in and takes the island, and let's say I come in and I work on it, but I put in more time than anyone else on the island? Are you saying my time is worth less than the person who owns it? Because just because they own it doesn't mean that they have any more time into the game. If I'm putting more time into it, then I should be able to defend it. So I disagree with that. See, in my head, and I have to be objective to this, because in my head, I'm going to be a part of an org that owns an island. Because there's a good chance if I'm not, I won't be on the PvP server. Just because I see it handicapping you so much that to me it's game breaking. And it's probably because I'm more a leadership type, and so I like to direct the flow of things, because often I see a whole lot of things all at one time when I'm assessing stuff. And so it matters to me that's the role that I'm a part of. That's naturally who I am. Other people are fine if they want to be, just another member on an island. And you will be fine as long as the owner of the island is fairly decent. I think a lot of players will do well under decent leadership. But I know I fully believe, I can't say I know, but I fully believe that there are several out there that are going to get stuck under some jerks and they're going to have some problems. I'm worried about that. Other companies can build defensive structures, pucks at any time. I mean, that helps. Excuse me, sorry. Hang on a sec. Get some water. Other companies can build defensive structures, pucks at any time. Pucks are great. Okay, I like pucks. They're not fire because they don't look as cool, but they do good damage and they break armor, and they can shoot a fair distance if you put them on long range, and they get an NPC for crew, and I like pucks. I just don't think pucks alone are going to be enough defense. I think if ships are rolling up, I'll give you a scenario. You've got your base, because of the layout of everything, it's fairly close to the shore. Pucks aren't going to do a whole lot to ships. You can get one ship rolling up. What are you going to do if you get a galleon that rolls up with a darn 90 cannon broadside on it, okay? And we've seen them out there. 90 cannon broadside that comes up, but he's so well protected that he was able to get there because his org comes with him, right? So they weren't able to get on his weak side. So he comes up, and he fires all of those all at once, hitting your building multiple times. And it was my bad. My bad. The settlement owner wasn't able to give that area of the island attention because he was given some other part of the area attention, probably his base. So he didn't defend the rest of the settlement as well as that because he wasn't as invested over there. And even if he could, but he probably couldn't because he's just one org. Maybe he's got 50, 60 guys over there, max, right? And so he couldn't build all over there on your side to help. He had to build on the other side to help. And so he builds up that side, you get demolished because you couldn't put down defensives other than a puck gun. Puck guns help burst personnel, which is fine if your base is relatively inland. But some islands you can't get inland far enough. A long cannon can hit you, right? And you deserve to defend your part of the island as much as the guy that owns it. You're all in it together. That's the way I see it. When you have multiple orgs and alliances on one island, you are part of an unspoken, unwritten pact. And that pact is, you're all on the same island. When it gets attacked, any one of you can take damage. And damage ultimately equals lost time, right? So, because it's going to take time in order to refresh those resources, to do repairs, to rebuild, to replace, to recraft, to regrind, right? Takes time to do all that. So that's what you're losing. So I think they should loosen up on that. I think anyone on the island should be able to defend the island. Yeah, because they all have an equal right to defend their property and their stuff. Other companies can build offensive structures only during wartime. Outside of wartime, these structures are non-functional, inactive, and unusable. I mean, I understand that to a degree. Not being able to use them and stuff during outside wartime, but what about defending your property from like the elements themselves, from like snakes and lions and tigers and bears and ogres and all the other stuff that's out there? Are you telling me these are inactive and inoperable against those as well? Because you need to be able to have it relatively safe around your base so you can do various things. I know I do. I generally put a perimeter fence around the place, and I send out tames and stuff out there to keep everything cleaned up. And I even put guys on puck guns and flame guns and just different stuff like that. So I don't know. Sometimes you need to use other things. They're saying pucks, but I'm like, what about grape shot guns? What about swivel guns? Pucks and swivel guns, because those can go on land bases as well, and they're just as important. Other companies can build offensive structures only during wartime. Okay, and this is my understanding here, and I hope it's right. Other companies can build offensive structures only during wartime. By other companies, I hope it means those that reside on the island. I hope this does not mean companies that you are going to war against. Because if a company can come into your island and build down structures, and then afterwards they're inactive and unusable, all that is debris on your island. Okay? And as the island owner, you should be able to fully remove any of that instantly. Okay, just send in a wrecking crew that's like, oh, gone. And so I'm really hoping when it says other companies, it's talking about those that are already residing on the island. Yeah. I hope that doesn't mean enemies. I hope enemies can't build anything on your island. Squat. Notification system. Players can sign up for email notifications related to company log activity. That's kind of funny. Oh, man. I'm driving to the grocery store. I get an email text alert that comes in that says your property's under attack. You swing over to the side, you swing up your tablet, maybe your Razer laptop, whatever, and you pull it up. You're like, no, baby, I can't go in the store. We're getting attacked right now. You're going to have to go in grocery shopping on your own. I don't know. It's just funny that it makes sense. I know a lot of the bigger games, you can get various things like this that work with you, and you know, Twitter alerts and email alerts and text alerts, and it's pretty interesting. But company logs that have any physical in-world location shall now include the grid and GPS. A boat was sunk at K5 at 50. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice, because then if you get taken out somewhere, it's nice to know where it happened. Maybe you can return and get some payback, or return and get your stuff that's way down there in the bottom of the ocean. That's nice. Can we also get the option to get this removed? Like, we can manually go in and remove them? Because sometimes when you have a bunch of ships sunk all over the place, they can kind of clutter the map a bit. And so sometimes it's nice to even like maybe right click and delete point. Maybe something like that, so that we can keep the maps cleaned up. I know you could probably put an option in that says, hide grid GPS markers, but still, when you click it, if there's a lot of them, it gets very cluttered, and it'd be nice to be like, dude, we already cleaned up that wreck. We don't need it there anymore. How do we get rid of it? How do we delete it? Discord webhook for in-game Yeah. We use a lot of those right now in synchronizers for Star Citizen. We have tons of Discord webhooks for our portal and the whole nine. It's all streamlined. So that makes sense. Lawless servers. We'll continue. Now we're getting into some of the PvE stuff, and this is also... I've played on both. This last season, I'm going to call this first part of Atlas the first season. Last season, I was on both PvE and PvP. And we'll get more to that here shortly. We'll continue to operate like normal. No islands on these servers can be claimed. Reduce structure placement rules. I don't know what this means. Reduced as in there's less rules? Or reduced as in there are more limiting rules? So you're confined to less that you can do. Reduce structure placement rules. Maybe normally you could place 15,000, but now you can only place 5. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I had a problem with that last time I read it too, and I was like, reduce structure placement rules. I don't know if it means the rules are more relaxed, because it means reduced, meaning it's less restrictive, or meaning reduced as in you can place down less, and so we really don't want you there, so we're going to make it a pain for you to be there. Something like that. Lawless servers are the only place people have to go if they can't land something good with the other islands. And so, like right now, I don't know why they're not all just claimable outside of free ports and maybe like one grid square around a free port maybe. But I don't know. I guess Grapeshot has the reasons for it, but I know that if someone gets onto an island that's claimable and they end up getting under a jerk governor and things don't go right there, their only place later on in the game after the season's been running a while to go is going to be a lawless server where they can get attacked 24/7, but it may be better than what the tyrant they were under the previous islands. And so I don't know if, I don't know what this means, so I don't know if it's going to be a negative or a positive. So I don't know if it's going to hurt people or not, as far as those trying to escape the tyrannical rulership of some bad governor. Damage decay over time on all structures. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to play out like it did before. Before, like, for example, if you're on a lawless server, you have like 4 days. If you didn't log in within 4 days, it would automatically become demolishable. Versus, when I usually read the words damage decay, okay, decay means it tears down over time. Okay? But that's not actually what it was on the previous lawless servers. Previously, there was no decay for 4 days. As long as if you didn't log in for 4 days, you were fine. As long as you logged in within 4 days, you were fine. If you didn't log in after those, 96 hours? If you didn't log in after those 96 hours, it immediately became able to be destroyed. There was no decay. It was either can be destroyed, can't be destroyed. And so when I read decay, I'm thinking, okay, so if it has 10,000 health, it's going to slowly decay over time unless I keep it repaired. And quite frankly, once you get a decent-sized building up there or a ship dock or a few ships, if everything's constantly decaying, that would become a nightmare to even use. Like, you pretty much want to avoid lawless servers like the plague. But I don't know if that's what this means. I don't know if it's going to actually have real decay or not. And I read somewhere else there's going to be a way to repair it. You put up like a building or a device or something where you can feed into it and it will keep things repaired. That's kind of a way to keep... It might be down in the PvE network. Let's see. No claim flags. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if I agreed with this either on PvE because I have a lot of experience on lawless servers. I was on a few of them in this previous season, in the current season. And so I know what it's like being in those servers, and I know that not being able to set a perimeter for your property can become a very big headache. You can actually have, like, I'll give you guys an example. I had a shipyard, okay? I had this property that was out by the edge of the ocean, And it was actually, there was a little piece of land that was just barely underneath the top of the water so that you could build on it. And I built a huge platform set up and everything, a base on it, the whole nine. It was really nice. And I put shipyards out there. Well, come to find out that back behind the base, where it was all also water, right, it was super shallow, okay, except for a area that was wide enough to get a brig or a schooner or a sloop down through, and then you could get those into the back in the back, and you could park them all back there in the bay. Now, there was only one entrance and one exit. I had a random player come up and drop a shipyard dead in front of that entrance and exit, locking down that entire bay, and there was no way to stop it. Okay, now I'm a player that has 500 hours invested in this area with this base, the shipyard, the whole nine, because all the other areas were taken out there on the islands, right? And so now a player comes up and drops a shipyard dead in front of my stuff. So what did I do? And there's things I could have done to be a jerk, right? But I didn't. Okay, I didn't. What I did was I put a series of what are they called? The darn foundation stakes. Not the square foundation you put down for a building, but the little stakes that you can put down in the ground and you can put like a ceiling tile on them. But whatever, I'm just going to call them stakes. They're called something else. I forget what it's called right now. But anyhow, I put like 4 of those, 5, 6 of those stacked up on top of each other. And then once it got above the water, I put a huge sign up on top of it that said, "This bay is under construction. Please move your shipyard as soon as possible, as I would not want it or the ships of it to get damaged during the construction." Now, what did I mean? First off, I was trying to be as friendly as I could. Okay, I was giving the guy time to get it all out of there and everything, because I could have built and blocked him fully in. Any ship he could have put in there, I could have blocked in. Now, I didn't want to fight with the guy. I wanted him to move the shipyard when he was done. And that's exactly what he did by the time it was over. But for like 3 days, I had the whole front end of that bay totally locked down, because a player could come in and drop that anywhere. And so that's the problem with no claim flags. Now you have to fight with every single person out there if they don't want to be friendly. Okay, and there's a fair amount of players out there. Let's be real. Okay, not all gamers have good social skills. And so some people out there are just incorrigible. And so it's just really hard to work with them. You try to do the best you can and be as friendly as you can and even go out of your way to help them, and they're just socially, they just so handicapped that you can't even work with them. They don't talk, or if they do, it's always negative or complaining, or they only log in just long enough to keep their timers going, and then they're gone, and you don't ever see them. Or they come in from out of nowhere, right, and they drop a shipyard dead in the middle of the entrance to your whole bay. And so it can get very dicey, not being able to set off, these are your limits, this is my property, this is your property. Damage, decay, overtime added to all structures. Okay, and this is the thing I was talking about before. A new auto repair structure which players will need to upkeep to prevent structures from being destroyed by decay. Okay, so everything's going to slowly decay over time. And I know they did that so that players that come and go, the stuff just decays out and it's gone, which I'm all for. But you could still do that and still give players claim flags. The claim flag prevents someone from building on your property. Okay, it keeps us from having bad neighbors, from ruining. What does a bad neighbor do? It ruins the game experience. You know what it does? It takes those scales again, with burden on one side and fun on the other side, and it starts making it imbalanced. Okay? So now when that burden becomes too great and the fun becomes less and the burden becomes more, players leave. Once that scale becomes too imbalanced for too long, players leave. And so not having a way to set your property so that someone else can't come in and trash it and just leave stuff there. And I mean, I'm not joking. You can literally spend, 200-300 hours on a castle and then have some jerk come up right in front of it and drop something right down in the center. It would totally locks you down. All right, I've seen this in several places. In the island I'm on right now on the PvE server, I see places where this has happened all over the place. Someone comes in, drops some piece of trash in the middle of nowhere, doesn't touch it for weeks, if ever, and you can't touch it and do anything about it whatsoever. Now, it's fine. It wouldn't have been a problem if I'd have been able to put down a claim flag, because I could have prevented that from happening. But because I can put down no claim flags, people can come in, even people that are just there for a few hours doing a treasure map. They can drop a piece of trash right down in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I see that they have this decay thing. Now, here's the problem. If the person is an island resident, right, and they decide to just kind of push around, that's how people are pushy on PvE without being confrontive about it, okay? What they'll do is they'll put down a bunch of stakes or a bunch of blocks, foundation blocks, thatch, wood, stone, you name it. They'll park ships in horrible places. They'll put dinghies in horrible places. They'll put stone gates in horrible places if they can get close enough to build it there. You can do a ton of offensive actions against other players on the PvE servers that the current rule sets do not protect you against. Okay? And one of the main ways to protect players from this is by giving them a perimeter of their property. That prevents anyone from putting trash down in their property. Because you know, okay, if you build a castle or something and you have maybe a 20-meter leeway between it and the next property line, you know you have 20 meters to make your entrance and fit all that in there and make it work. But when you're thinking you have that much room, and then Joe Schmo comes up from the other side of the island and drops a damn stone gate that's like 15 feet off the front end of your place and makes everything look like trash, you know what happened to all that time you just put in because he just did that and decided to, I don't know, maybe the stone gate is nothing more than a darn taming pen. You can't do nothing about it because he's got a auto repair structure on the island that's keeping his stuff caught up, and it keeps it repaired like everything else across the other side of the island, and now you're stuck with that piece of trash right there in front of your property. So not being able to cone off your property in PvE, I think, is bad. The decay and the repair, I think that's good. Because, man, I don't know how many times I've gone around the island destroying stuff that people just left there for weeks just to get it out of there. Because I know for those that don't know, every item that is built on these servers, on the grids, on the islands, it puts more and more and more and more and more burden on the servers. The server has to track all that. So you want to know why some servers have more or less lag than others? Part of that is because what's there. And part of that is because players come in and build huge things, and some of them take care of them and keep them up, and that's fine because players are there playing it. But others put a bunch of trash down, leave them all over the island, and then they have this tiny little shack on the other island, and they're barely ever even there. But they're there just long enough to keep it upkept. And it doesn't have to be a lot of pieces. All it takes is one piece in the wrong place to greatly inconvenience other players that are there on a regular basis. Okay, world redesign. This milestone will also introduce some world changes to Atlas itself. The overall objective from these changes is to provide players with more land to use for their bases, as well as general updates for our current biomes and interesting new areas to explore. See, this is where I read it before. Over 200 islands added to the network, approximately one additional island per grid. Players can now set any server. I'm totally against this. Absolutely, unequivocally against this. Players can now set any server as their home server. Following the wipe and the potential for free ports to be overloaded, we'll be temporarily enabling settings any Atlas server as your home server. Additionally, we'll most likely create a spawn on current server option 2. Create a respawn on current server option 2. Okay, now why? Okay, now this is... I'm trying to make sure I understand this right. Following the wipe and the potential for free ports to be overloaded. I understand that. The free ports can get overloaded. We'll be temporarily enabling setting any server, Atlas server, as your home server. Okay, so now here it is. Here it is, guys. Here it is. You can spawn in on any server you want, which means you can spawn in and immediately start building yourself up, build that tax bank, get that claim flag, boom, drop it, claim. No requirement to travel from free ports whatsoever. Do you see the problem? The problem with that is you're going to have orgs all over the Atlas that immediately get the server or immediately get put on the server that they would like to claim right now. No delay, no wait time, no work even. You don't even have to get out there to it. Some of the things that are going to enable some people to grab an island before others is their skill at the beginning of the game. That is totally being negated by this instant server hop, this instant island hop. And so I'm trying to think of what else they could do to make the free ports and their loads more user-friendly. But without enabling the instant server hop, because I see that as a major handicap for people. You're going to have some of the smartest and quickest people out there grabbing up their favorite islands right at the very, very, very beginning. And that first claim, I'm telling you, people are going to go for their most important claim first, because they know there may not be more stuff available later. And so they're going to drop right in on that server where they need to get close to that island and rush over there. And they're going to get as many org mates as they can to come with them so that they can back it up and get it. All that without minimal work. They don't even need to work through a free port. In fact, there's not even any reason to go to a free port. Shut the free ports down. Players don't even need to go to them. Because now you can spawn in on any island you want, build yourself up. What do you need? See, some of you guys probably aren't as good as starting out at the beginning of this than some of the others of us, okay? And I'll be honest, when I first started, I started in the Tundra, and it was a huge pain in the butt. Character was constantly freezing, constantly dying. God forbid it should rain. Everybody dies. The whole darn free port gets wiped or whatever. And there's no respawns. You lose all your stuff on your body. And so it's just a huge pain. And so I fought and fought and fought. And now here's the thing. Now here's what I learned from that. First off, I got really good at the beginning of the game. Okay? And so I got it now that I can jump into a free port, and inside a very short time, boom, I'm off it. I'm already moving off to the others. But other players are not as good. And that was part of the edge for those of us that were good in the free ports. But now you don't even have to go to a free port. Because when you start the game off, this is what you need. You need a tree to hit for thatch and wood. You need to be able to pull some fiber, right? You need to be able to pull some rocks, okay? Once you have those four basics, okay, and hide. Well, let's be real. There's things to kill on every island, okay? So hide is not really an issue either. If there's cows, if there's pigs, okay, if there's birds, right, then you can get hide from various things, okay? If there's even mid to low level snakes, if there's turtles, no, turtles give carotenoid, not hide. Okay, so anyhow, hide's probably not going to be an option, or probably not going to be a problem. So if you can get those 5, you can start yourself off. Boom, you get your clothing to protect yourself, right? Boom, you get your camp, okay? Boom, you build up, you save. Well, you're already on the island you want, or close to it. If you're not close enough to it, now you got to build a ship dock. Now you got to get a sloop or a raft, right? But if the island you want is literally like, I don't know, a short distance across the sea right there in the same grid, all you got to do is get over there. So all you got to do is build yourself a tiny shipyard and a raft. And if you start it with org mates, several of you, I'll put it to you this way, 2 people can fly through that at rapid, like incredible speed. If you have more than that, which I believe a lot of orgs will, you're going to be able to have full shipyards up, okay? You're going to be able to leave there and style in a schooner, whatever the heck you want. And then you sail over to the island, boom, you build your bank, okay? Which I don't know what's going to be. I don't know what it's going to take to build the bank. I don't know if they're going to keep the recipe the same or if it's going to be different or what. But still, once you build a bank, it's only a mild inconvenience to build a bank, and then boom, you drop down your claim flag and you're already getting it. You totally bypass the free ports entirely. Free ports are only going to be for players that are relatively new, that are trying to break themselves into the game and get around. The rest of us are going to be hitting the main islands ASAP. So I'm not happy about this jump to any island you want, any server you want to respawn and come in, because people are going to be respawning right on top of whatever island they want, or as close as possible as they can. And the problem is I don't know how they're going to limit this. I don't know how they're going to fix it, because you could potentially have too many players coming in at free ports simultaneously and overloading the server and maxing the server out. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard spot. I think it's a huge handicap and a negative to allow people to instant jump to servers, and yet free ports are going to get overloaded. And so that's a bad thing too. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think this is their fix, but it's a fix I disagree with. I think it's going to give orgs too much of an edge to jump to the islands that they want immediately. And I see that as a negative because a lot of things can happen between leaving that free port and sailing to that first island to get yourself established. A lot can happen in that. You know, ships of the dam out there, especially, we haven't covered it yet, but especially with ships of the dam running in threes, you know, schooners, brigs, and galleon grade ships of the dams running together now in groups. Ships of the dam just got a whole lot more dangerous. Okay? And so a ton could happen from the free port to the islands, and I think that ton should be experienced by the player base and shouldn't be bypassed. I think it's bypassing a lot of the game by doing that. I think something needs to be done to change the beginning of the game so that you can put a whole lot more players on the free ports. Maybe even make it. I don't know if the free ports are limited by an internet bandwidth. I don't know if they're limited by processor cycles or RAM. Or I don't know what their limiting factor is for the free ports getting overloaded. I know they're going to be overloaded because there's only 150 slots. Why can't you make free ports 300 slots? Is it the servers can't handle it? And what about the servers can't handle it? I don't know. But I really believe that players should have to play through the free port. Because with this temporary system, you can totally bypass free ports. And I see that as a very bad thing. Alright, moving on. I'm going to go through some of this kind of quick. This is the new, you guys can read it. You know, you can jump up here. You can see the link right here. In fact, I will Control-C. I'll put that down in the description of the video. So you guys can go straight here, check it out. This is the new sub you can use, you can build. You can only build it after you've beaten the Kraken. So now the Kraken has become an objective because this will allow you to go into a big biome down in the ocean. It'll allow you to do different stuff down there, and you can leave it. Once you get down there, you can enter and exit the sub freely, which is nice. It's a nice sub, and they've built a nice biome down there. You can get the giant crabs down there, and there's, as far as I knew, there was whales down there, and there was sharks down there, and they said they're going to build some more stuff, but for now, that's what they have. This is a picture of some of the biome, you know, kind of an aquatic, underwater, domey things built here. Here you can see crabs. Here's a crab. Here's a crab. Here's a crab. Right. All right. It enlarged it, but not very much. Oh, okay. There we go. Nope, that didn't even make it bigger. That didn't help much. Not on my screen, it didn't. Okay, so, here we have the Eastern Tundra. It's still the Tundra. And so the Tundra is such a pain to be in. It's so deadly. But it's definitely one of the hardest places to start in. Eastern Tundra, this is what it's going to look like versus the older Western Tundra. So they're putting in some more biomes, which is nice. Here is the guillotine. I guess you can take off people's heads, and when you do, you can capture them. I'm not really sure how the capture works yet, but you can take off heads, and when you do that, you get a small portion of their experience. So it's an interesting way. It's totally down the row of piracy and stuff, which I know some people are into. Quite frankly, the whole thing kind of freaks me out. Well, it doesn't freak me out. It creeps me out. It just looks too, like, bad. It's like, I'm not really getting my rocks off on that. But some of you guys will love it, so have a fun time. Tied to the execution of players. Okay, here's the ships of the dam now, right? This is a brig. I remember this in the video. This is a brig. Got obliterated by this galleon grade ship of the dam. These things are going to be a threat, okay, for real. Ships of the dam just came rolling in deep. They're going to be dangerous. Here you have a little schooner grade ship of the dam, and you also, up here, you can't see it. He's kind of twisted and caught in the front end of this galleon one, but here's the brig grade ship of the dam. So they're going to be traveling in groups now, which is going to be awesome. They're going to be like really fun to go out and hunt and stuff now, even on PvE, PvP, whatever server you're on. They're going to be a whole lot more fun to play with now. And now you're not going to be able to go out there in those wussy ships and fight them, because you're going to have to go out and kite and kite and kite and kite and kite. And I don't know about you, but kiting is very boring. It's effective, but it's boring. And so now I heard they even gang up and hit the same ship. So you're going to have to be careful what you're doing out there. I, for one, am really happy about this change. I think it makes the ships of the dam a whole lot more threatening, and they really needed that. They really did. This galleon is awesome. I seen it firing off on this ship, and it was deep. It was great. It was firing massive fireballs, or not fireballs. Yeah, they were fireballs. It would be cool though if the red ones shot fireballs, but they were green cannonballs coming off of this ship. Here's a peg hand, which you can put in your right or left hand, depending on what you have. Same thing with a leg. Here's some more armor. This was, I think, the multiple armor sets to customize the look of your company and crew. Provide as a permanent unlock for completing the quests in additional to skill rewards. So there you go. They're an unlock from quests. And you also get skills. So I like that. I, for one, like this armor here. It looks kind of Asian culture. To me, it does. I think it looks pretty sweet. It's definitely an armor set I'll be going for. And here's your fur. I like this fur set too. With some good coloring, it could be pretty sweet. So, and here is your cloth. This is it's an early rendition of it, but I think with its tribal cloth, I think it looks interesting, you know, versus the regular cloth. It'd be nice if we could get some more options too. These are cool, but I'd like to see some more. For a lot of players, aesthetics is a big deal. That's where you're going to make your, that's where you're going to make your, a lot of players happy about the aesthetics. And I would say if Atlas was in its permanent state and it's not going to be doing more wipes and huge changes, that even opening up a shop, like a real cash shop for players to be able to invest in aesthetics, is a great way for Atlas to make more money. I know tons of games do aesthetics. I'm not into the whole gambling thing like Star Wars Battlefront 2 did. You know, EA, we all know about that huge scandal online. If you don't, do a YouTube search. But definitely the aesthetics is cool to me. You guys could make Grapeshot could make some money off aesthetics, as long as they're not going to wipe and players are going to lose it. If they're linked permanently to their account, that would be pretty cool. Especially if there's aesthetics for pistols and rifles and swords and flags and ship hulls and hell, even colors. Right now, a lot of the colors on the ships and buildings look very bleh. They need to liven them up more. And if we could get something like that to unlock, that would be awesome. Even aesthetics on building structures, building types. The walls, the floors, the roofs, the ceilings, the foundation stakes, the various parts, the various sets to the building structures. If you guys put out aesthetics look, just skin looks, and made them really cool, some of us would really like that, because we're really into that kind of stuff. Even if you charged a price on a cash shop and permanently, the key though is you have to permanently link it to the account so that they never lose it. Even if you guys do a wipe, they still get it. That kind of would be great incentive. Hell, even having that as rewards for certain things, special aesthetics for rewards for things, is a great incentive for those of us that really are into the aesthetics. New feature, player shops and free ports. Players can now set up automated shops and free ports. See, there you go. Put it in a darn free port and get it out of the tyrannical government that steals all your earnings from it. Listing loot for sale and naming their own gold piece price. Okay, that's cool. It's like auction houses without auction, just straight prices. This I like too. This I thought was cool. The higher quality shipyard used when building a ship, the more level ups a ship will be able to obtain. You all know that's huge, right? That's huge. Ships can now level up their total damage output. What? Which affects all cannons on a ship. Oh, okay. You're allowing it to have a damage buff. Yo, I was waiting for y'all to do something like that in the... Oh, you did. Ships can now level up their total damage output. Okay, good. I was waiting for that for a while, man. I was waiting for that for a while. For you guys to provide more for ships to be able to upgrade upon upgrading, because I felt like it was so minimal. I was like, yo, where's the option to upgrade the ship's resistance so it's more hardy? And I hope they did keep a balance between total resistances and damage output. I hope the total damage output isn't like, you know, I mean, I'm total bar plugging, okay? This is like total guess, right? But like a total damage output of 100%, and then your total resistances can only absorb half of that. I hope that they're even, because that way it keeps it fair. As new upgradable stats. So that's awesome, especially with the kind of stuff I roll in. And y'all know, okay? So I'm a heavy hitter. All right, I'm not playing. You come within range of me, you're going to get hit heavy. And if you don't leave quick, you're going to get sunk. So this damage output thing will be great, but this is also great for ships that want to tank. And I'm not even going to go into that in this video, okay? But there's a whole combat style out there that I used to run in some other titles, ship titles, pirate titles, okay, where we would do all kinds of stuff out there in formations with ships. And that's why I kind of like, you know, I watch how other people play and what they're doing, and I'm just like, man, if they were a part of our org, they could get royally set up and have an awesome time. All right, next. All tameable creatures will be made breedable. See, I love that. I've been waiting for that. My wife will love that, because she's huge into that. She loves that stuff, man. With no exception, except for mythical creatures. Did you hear that? Wait, read that. With no exceptions except for mythical creatures. Mythical is the top end loot grade. I wonder if there's going to be different grades of tames. I put in a suggestion for there to be, because I think it would be great if you could breed, like, let's say I breed a horse, right? I breed 2 horses, and the pony that comes out, I spend the 8 hours or whatever it is to mature them. And then the moment it hits full maturity, it turns into the grade it's going to be, whether it's regular, fine, journeyman, mastery, legendary, or mythical. But you don't know what it's going to be until that moment it levels up. And what does that affect? It affects its stats. It affects the overall quality of the tame, of the pup, the baby. And I think it would be great if we did that out there in the wild with the tames too. I think it would be cool if the moment you tame something, it bumped to a special quality grade, which affects its stat quality, and their name. How do you know what quality they are? You know it by the color of their name. Their name will tell you if it is a regular journeyman, fine, journeyman, mastery, legendary, mythical. I'm running them all through my head. Vitamin rebounds. We don't know what that means yet. We don't know if it's going to be easier, harder. We'll see. Various spawner adjustments and fixes across all islands. You know, spawning adjustments would help a lot. I notice on a lot of islands you'll get spawns that spawn up in mountains and then they just permanently get stuck up there. Or they spawn down in a hole and they permanently get stuck in the hole. You know, I don't know. I know they have someone that goes through and edits and adjusts their islands. So it would be really great if they went through all the islands and readjusted spawn points, or even the layout of the land, so that they don't permanently get stuck in these dead ends where you come around and there's like 20 spawns sitting down in this hole, and you're just like, well, there goes a bunch of server cycles that's being wasted because they're not even out there in the land. They're just stuck down in a hole somewhere up on top of a mountain that they never get over, and they just stuck down in this little hole on a mountain. So some of you guys have never seen that because you haven't gone into admin mode and gone into running private servers. But when you get in there and you fly around the island, you see you see animals stuck all over the place. There's a lot, like really. In some islands, it's crazy how many are just stuck in holes somewhere. Quality of life changes. Territory map will now display allies as teal colored. Character creation now has height slider to make it easier to set your character's desired height. Okay, that's cool. Any dead shipwrecks from your company appear with a unique icon on your map now. So you can find wrecks. That's great, but can we also get a right-click delete or some kind of delete function? A right-click on the map and delete would be awesome because that's quick and easy. And a confirmation. That way someone doesn't accidentally delete one. Right click delete. Are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, no, you know. Global territory messaging updating. Currently contesting claims will be indicated on the minimap. I guess that means when multiple people are trying to claim someplace. Because they said, I think it was, you can't steal land anymore. So once you get it, it's done. So it must be if multiple people are trying to claim an island or something, it'll show up on the mini-map, I guess. I wonder if it shows up like a ping. Bing, bing, bing. And it all like bleeps out from that point. Players can now mount a sail to directly control the sail's open-close amount and rotation setting in a more intuitive way. Okay, so the way that we mount sails is being altered so that it's more intuitive. I mean, that's fine. I didn't really have a huge problem with the old system, but that's fine. Pistol reloading now changed to have the minigame appear back to back rather than through various points of animation. Hey, that's cool. Like, boom, you hit R for reload and it pops up like a triple minigame. Maybe they get faster, slower. You know what would also be cool? If y'all Grape Shot ever see this or whatever, instead of just giving us a straight line with a small light window for us to hit in order, you know, to push the button right when it gets in between the line, why not make the line irregular, like a roller coaster, or make it go vertical, or make it go horizontal, or make it go diagonal, and make it go wavy, and so it kind of trips us out some, so that we're like, whoa, that's not straight, that's vertical, that's not vertical, that's diagonal, whoa, that's not diagonal, that's all, you know, snake-shaped, you know, an S, a huge ongoing S shape like a roller coaster, and you gotta still stop it in between. What I'm saying is change up the minigame. Okay, what else we got here? Any dead ships? Global territory currently contested. All servers can now be set to a home server and have unique spawn points. Yeah, and again, I don't like this. And I don't like it because if all servers can now be set to a home server, at absolute minimum, there needs to be some few catches in there. And one I can think of off the top of my head is, unless you are at war in that server. Okay? I don't want to see people respawning on a server that they are at war with right there, because then they can just... they can make that server their home server, and then they can go to war with the islands on that server, and they can get rapid respawn in that server so that they can become an endless enemy force that you can never beat back because they keep infinitely respawning. You know what I'm saying? And so I would want to stop that very fast. I would say unless you are at war or going to be at war. Okay, and even that doesn't work. Even that doesn't work. Because the respawn system needs to check. Is this person at war with any island? Is this person in an org that is at war with any island within that server? If they are, deny the respawn. Make them respawn in a different server. That way they can't infinitely respawn in the same server they're in war, so they can become this infinite armor, this undead army that never stops. So I would put some checks and balances with that setup right there, to prevent exploiting that and griefing players endlessly. Players can also respawn on the server they died on. And apparently they want you to be able to... Well, see, dying in normal, general gameplay is okay. Okay? But if you were at war and that's why you died, I would say no. I would say if you're at war and you died, you have to have a bed on a ship or a building or whatever in order to come back in. Otherwise, you cannot respawn on that server. In fact, that server can't even be your home server because you're at war. And let me rephrase that. Not because you're at war, if you're defending. If you're defending, it's fine. You're the defender. You can't be the attacker and infinitely respawn on that server. Because I, for one, don't like killing the same guy a dozen times. To me, that takes that scale between burden and fun and raises the burden significantly. I don't like killing the same people over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I've played other games that did that. Planet Side 2 did that. What a huge pain. You kill the guy and he just zerg come back. Kill the guy, zerg come back. Kill the guy, zerg come back. Kill the guy, zerg come back. You're killing the same guys for 2 hours straight. It's very annoying and it's monotonous. And yeah, I know in that game you had to push up and take the respawn point, but all they would do is just respawn farther back and farther back and farther back, and you're killing all their darn vehicles, and they just keep moving in more vehicles to respawn, even like behind other mountains. So they got respawn points all over the place. And the point though is you're re-killing the same character over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I would prevent that from not allowing them to have their home server as the same server they're attacking on. And I don't know, maybe that doesn't work, because what if they own one island on one part of the server and the island they're attacking is on another, in the like maybe another part of the server, and it's all legit. It's a legit, maybe there's 4 islands in that, and they own 2, and the another org owns 2, and they're trying to get the other 2, or maybe they just go to war because they're competing over resources at sea, or ships of the dam, or whales, or whatever. I don't know. I just thought of that. I don't know if that would work. Players can also respawn on servers they died on. Yeah, the only way I think that's okay is if they're respawning on a bed that's on a boat or something that they own. See, my mind keeps going to the attackers. I don't want attackers with like 200 people to be able to zerg, respawn over and over and over and keep that going for hours and hours and hours. Because again, now you're coming to a point where some small or medium orgs can't keep up with those numbers. And pretty much, you can't design game systems that vastly continue to cripple small and medium orgs. Because when you do that, you increase the burden and you decrease the fun, and so players will eventually get tired of that and go to other games. I don't know how many. Atlas is a computer game, but I know Bones and whatever it's called. What's it called? Blood and Bones is coming out shortly, and that looks like a really cool pirate game. And I'm bringing this up because this is the kind of stuff players are going to turn to when Atlas becomes more of a burden than it is fun. Okay, it's about character retention, or not character, player retention. You have to be able to keep the players. Once they come in, you got to keep them. And when the systems you design work against players and become even harder penalties when you're in smaller orgs, that encourages the smaller and medium, which I think, you guys can verify on the back end by checking your numbers, I think are going to be the majority of the players. And they'll get tired of it and they'll leave. And that works against player retention. That works against a business model that's trying to get more people to play. Players want fun. Really, that's what draws players in. We had a debate today in our org over whether Atlas was fun or not. And a lot of players were pointing out various things that, not players, people were pointing out a few various things that they did not like. And they actually, some of them came off so strong that it was like they downright hated the game. Because of certain things that worked so much against. The burden for them became too great. They didn't see the fun at all. And that's the perspective they were supporting, that they were totally against it. Because we had a big talk about Atlas today in our org. And for those that don't know our org, we're synchronizers. We're in Star Citizen. We are one of the biggest and most active and I say those words together because we're just over 1,600 people. We're a very large org, but we're not the size of some of those others out there that are 10,000 plus. A lot of those are more casual. We have a very close-knit group. We have a lot of great people throughout all of the leadership and in the player base. We have a very filled-out portal, very active, tons of Discord announcements and webhooks sharing various things with us. We have multiple divisions. In fact, I'm going to drop the link for synchronizers on the Star Citizen server down in the description below. I'm also going to drop our intro video down in the description below so you guys can check it out. In my opinion, we're a phenomenal org. We are not, and this is funny because and I'll get to it, you guys will get it in a minute, but we are not a piracy org. We are united with the UEE as far as in agreeance of being on the positive side of orgs. We're not a griefing org. We are an org that builds people up and wants to go out and have a great time. We are international. We have players from all around the world. We have departments that cover every single area of Star Citizen. We have a very engaging, committed, dedicated, very skilled military. We also have special forces within our military for the very hardcore. They are very skilled, very good at what they do. We show up on the leaderboards quite a bit. I just seen a post earlier today where we were on the leaderboards again because we are just so active and we have so many skilled people with us. And today, and I'll share it with you guys now at the tail end of the video, today we officially announced that Atlas is going to be one of our units for synchronizers. So we will officially have a presence on Atlas, and I'm really excited about that because many of us were playing, but we were playing on our own. And I was running with different groups on PvE and PvP. If you guys notice, I have not posted many PvP videos. You know why? Because I'm a competitive player. Alright, and so while I will share some things with you guys, I do not share everything. And now that our org will be in Atlas, I may even share less. I don't know yet. I'll find out what happens. Because I am not a player that equips my enemy to be able to defeat me. Okay? I understand that in a lot of titles, alright, I'll give you guys an example, okay? If I'm playing football, I'm not going to take my playbook and go hand it to the opposing team and say, good game out there, guys. See you out there. Right? Good luck. Right? Break a leg, whatever. I'm not going to do that. And that's essentially what you're doing when you're making videos that are equipping other players in the same competitive environment you play in. And so I don't usually do that. I keep that quiet. In fact, if you notice, I haven't even shown anyone, excuse me, who and where I'm located in PvP. And I've kept that quiet on purpose. Because if your enemy doesn't know who you are, they can't grief you. Alright? And so people will get, and we've seen it, okay? Watch the YouTube videos up there. You got people up there that can't even engage in PvP without cussing someone out. You got people up there that are throwing racial slurs like it's just a thing to do, you know? And you got people up there that are so aggressive and so abusive verbally with their language up there that they're borderline creating hate crimes up there on YouTube. And so, yeah, when I say that you don't reveal who you are, that's why. Because you can become a target. We've all heard of stream snipers. Well, occasionally when I feel up for it, I stream too, but with a delay. Okay, and sometimes I'll even set ambushes on purpose, waiting for someone to try to stream snipe, because people do that. And so these are a lot of the reasons why I don't put a lot of PvP stuff up on here. I'll put PvE. Hell, I'll even mask some of the PvP stuff as PvE stuff. And I'll give you guys tips every now and again, and they're all good tips. They'll make you better. But some of the meat and potatoes of it, I don't share. And that's because I'm competitive, and with an org and everything up there, it's important to protect. Information is power. Knowledge is power. And so you got to protect your org mates and stuff up there. You got to protect your allies. And part of the way you do that is by not sharing things. All right? And so that's why you guys do not see much PvP and Atlas up there. Go back in some of my Star Citizen, you will see a little bit of PvP. You'll see us pushing off pirates from us running cargo runs. You'll see us attacking hammerheads and various things like that. You know, and as things come up, sometimes I share them. And sometimes even in Star Citizen, there's been a lot of PvP instances I have not shared. And some of the videos I put up, they are private and unlisted. And they're that way on purpose because they are for certain people only. I will make certain videos and I'll share them with leadership, and I'll share them with recruitment, and I'll share them with whatever people are under my departments in order to train them. But I do not share them with the general public. And that is to protect our org and our allies. So I hope that makes more sense for you guys now. PvE, I don't care. PvE is PvE. It's no big deal. You know, we're all out there against the environment. Okay, what do we got here? So, Sync will have a presence. I don't know how big yet. It may not even matter. There only may be a couple of us. But if it's decent, we may be able to represent fairly. I already know we're skilled. I know how we are in Star Citizen. What I don't know is if we're going to have the numbers yet to be able to compete up there with the bigger orgs. Now, do we have that many in New York? Absolutely. But that's for Star Citizen. Atlas is a vastly different game than Star Citizen. A lot of people come to Sync for Star Citizen. But Atlas is not the same game, and a lot of people don't get as hype over it as they do Star Citizen. And so I don't know if we're going to get half a dozen or a dozen or 50, 60, 100. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. We just made the announcement today, and we'll see where it goes. So And these here you guys can read. This is part of the other update. They're showing you some server settings, okay, for being able to do certain things. And this is starting to get down into the other updates and stuff, so I'm not going to really go into that. But that's really what I wanted to share with you guys today. I wanted to walk through these patch notes. Here you can see, and I'm going to put this link in the description. You can come up here and you can play the whole video if you want. And many of you probably already know because there's tons of videos out there. I've seen them for 2 days. I just haven't had time to make this video to do this. And today I got some time, and so I was able to pump out a couple videos for you guys. And so I'll try to keep things coming, but you know, things get busy and I can't always do that. And soon, yeah, Star Citizen version 3.5 comes out. That's a huge patch. It's coming out at the end of March, and so I will be checking that out as well. I've been waiting for that patch for some time, and so that will also take some of my attention away from Atlas for a bit. So yeah, guys, here's the patch. Here's all the things we got incoming. Again, they said it's going to drop March 20th. And I'm thrilled that now we're going to have an official presence there. I don't know if it's going to be anything significant. We may be one of the small orgs because we just don't have enough player base. We may be one of the bigger ones. I don't know. We'll find out. And then maybe I can post more PvP action, although I probably won't be doing as much guidance and tips and tricks and, you know, inside stuff. But maybe I can show some more action if we're able to get out there and get into it more. However, if I do find that any of these systems are like really majorly game breaking, where the burden just becomes too great, it's just killing the fun. I am definitely concerned about the lag on the servers. Now there's going to be more islands, more wild creatures for the servers to track. Maybe more players, we don't know yet. And right now, I know sometimes the PvP servers get so jacked up, laggy. Like, I won't PvP in that. I'm not going to fight lag. If lag is too bad, I don't even do it in Star Citizen. If the lag is too bad right now, even up there, like, I won't play. I just log off it. I go play something else. There's so many fun titles out there, you know, that if a game is not fun, I'm not going to play it. And so if PvP ends up being too jacked because the lag is too bad, that will kill it, at least for me. And so we'll see what happens. I'm hoping they fix that. I'm hoping that it can run 150 on a server well without jacked up lag. And I'm hoping none of these other new systems that they put in breaks it so that it becomes a serious problem. I guess there's going to be a day that if you log in, then you get this aesthetic permanently linked to your account. Okay, and so quite frankly, I think they should already give it to us. I have tons of hours into Atlas that I should already earn this. Like, I already earned this. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give me 10 of them. I earned all of them. Yeah, if you're playing, then you're going to get this permanently linked to your account. So figure out whatever day they're going to drop it. I don't know what day they're going to drop it and show up. I think they're going to put an announcement or something out. Maybe it'll be the weekend before the patch, or maybe, you know, 2 weekends before. I don't know when. Maybe there'll be a whole window or several days before or something. I don't know. But they said we're going to get it. It's all in the video, guys. Watch the video. All right, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, thumbs up, thumbs down. And we'll see you in the Atlas and the next one. This is Otto, out.